Welcome to the video. This is an impromptu video that I wanted to do to talk about and just show you all the different Nextorch flashlights I currently own and the differences between each of them. This is going to help you to decide what's best for you if you're looking to get a new flashlight. Nextorch do excellent quality flashlights. They have different purposes as well, depending on what you're using it for. So I'm going to go through and I actually separated these out into a few categories. So here on the left, I've got the LEP torches. In the center, I've got the tactical torches. Here, I've got their EDC range. And on the top, this is like one of their duty torches. It doesn't really fall, kind of falls in between the tactical and the daily EDC use. And I mean, it's too large for EDC, but at the end of the day, I mean, you can still use it for EDC if you got a pocket large enough, but it doesn't really have that tactical switch on the back, but at the same time, it has tactical functionality. So I'm going to show you that in a moment, but these are a couple others as well. This is the Nextorch Maxstar. This is a headlamp that I use when I go out every now and then. This is the Nextorch K40, which is one of their smallest flashlights, the Keychain flashlight that I received recently. So probably let's start here on the left-hand side. Okay, so these are the LEPs. Now, LEP technology, as some of you guys might be aware of, it stands for laser excited phosphor. So basically, you've got a laser behind the phosphor and shine through module, which converts the laser into white light. The technology is very interesting because it allows you to really obtain a huge amount of throw for basically very little output. So this one here is pretty much the largest output LEP that I have, and even on the market, it's probably the second or third highest in terms of overall output at 900 lumens. They normally come in about 500 lumens, 300 to 500 lumens, and the beam, it's kind of let me see if I can give you a quick little demo, but the beam is very concentrated and there's virtually no spill. Okay, that's on the lowest setting. So there is a bit of a price difference between these three LEP lights. So the L10 Max is 159 US, and you've got 339 for the T10L and 369 for the T20L. So it's really not much difference between the T10L and the T20L. So if you really want an LEP that throws the maximum distance, because this one throws over 2 kilometers compared to 1.2 or 1.3 kilometers here for the T10L, I reckon get that one. But this one here, advantage is that you can fit it in your pocket, and you've also got this tactical ring design, which I really like. You can actually switch the modes and also have the main tactical switch there on the back. So this one is definitely a little bit more portable, probably also suited for law enforcement, or if you want something that's a little bit more covert. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got these little glass breaking beads as well on the top of this version, whereas the T20L don't really get any of that. This thing is just a monster. It throws a huge difference. I mean, look at the size of the lens and the bezel. I mean, you're not going to fit this one in your pocket, but again, it's really just depends on how you think you're going to be using it. Again, they both have this same tactical switch there on the back. Also, the T20L has ability to, you can use a remote switch in there, and also the charging port is just underneath that rubber part there. In the T10L, you can't really charge it. You've got to take the battery out and charge the battery separately. So there is actually a USB port on the battery itself. Okay, but entry level wise, if you're looking for your first LEP flashlight, this is really good value. I mean, at 159 bucks at the end of the day, it throws just as far as the T10L, but you don't have any of that tactical functionality. It's a little bit tricky to use the UI. Sometimes I find it takes a little bit of, took me a little time to get used to the UI. You sort of got to press and hold it, and then that will switch the light on, and then you can click and click to go through to the different modes. I like that it starts on high straight away. It's incredibly bright in from a short distance, so don't use it too close to you. Don't look at the beam too close to you, but anything a few hundred meters and beyond, absolutely amazing. Just for spotting things, for just fun. I mean, at the end of the day, some people think that LEPs don't really have much of a practical use. I think they do if you're spotting things from really far away. It's kind of like a pocket spotlight, really, but it doesn't produce any flood. So if you need something that you're gonna need to see like in front of you, you're walking through a bush or something like that, these are not the right they're not gonna produce any kind of flood whatsoever. The UIs are pretty easy to use. Like with most Nextorch flashlights, they only have a few modes, and especially with their tactical lights, like this one is the tactical LEP. There's only a few modes in there. There's about 3 or 4 modes, including the strobe option. So you don't have to sort of fiddle around and figure out what mode you're in. It's very intuitive. I don't even have to read the instruction manual a lot of the time. They all come with a 21700 cell, which I think is great. So you get that extended runtime. These two produce, like I mentioned before, reduced lumens about 4 to 500 lumens, I believe, and this one produces 900 lumens. You get a really, significantly larger spot compared to these two. So anyway, let's continue on. Let's talk about some of the tactical flashlights that Nextorch manufactures. So these are a couple here that I got a few months back. This is the Nextorch TA41 and the Nextorch TA30 Max. So these are a little different in terms of the design. You can see the TA30 Max has this kind of tactical ring here. I really like this tactical selection ring. You can change the modes directly, and then you can actually use this button on the back to activate. And you can use this, and you actually use this button on the back to activate high, and then fully press for strobe mode. Okay, whereas with the TA41, you only have access to the button on the back, and if you want to access strobe, you've got to double tap that button, but you've got momentary access to turbo. Click fully, and then you can actually change the modes from there. It's an interesting button because you can't change the modes while you're half pressing it. You can only change the modes while it is completely on, like that. And you also get a bit of a lumen boost with the TA41. I think this one 2,600 lumens. This one 2,100 lumens for the Nextorch TA30 Max. But again, they're quite different designs, but there are some differences in the designs, but the tactical functionality is all there. I mean, if you look at the head of the flashlights as well, they both have this tactical bezel that has these these ceramic beads you can use to break glass as well. Orange peel reflectors. They both have XHP 50.2 LEDs in there. This one's just driven a little bit harder, so it can produce slightly higher lumens. This one here on the side here, that's the Nextorch TA30 Max. It's a new one that I just received in the mail last week, and this is actually my favorite out of all of the Nextorch tactical flashlight range. And the reason is because it adds on to what you've got here. So here you've got 3000 lumens. You've also got the new XHP 50.3 LED. It's a de-domed LED. You can kind of see it in there. It's de-domed at the base. So basically it throws further than the other two. The bezel is also slightly larger. I thought that would be an issue, but I don't notice it really that much compared to those other ones. They've also upgraded the bezel, so it's made of titanium, so you've got less reflectivity. I think that's cool, and also more durability. These ceramic glass breaking beads have been bedded in there as well. You've still got that same tactical switch design on the back, but it's made of metal. Okay, this is really cool. It's made of metal. Not only that, you have a battery indicator, so you can turn it on and off, and it actually flashes and or stays solid or changes color depending on the level, the voltage of the battery. Really important. And I think that's really the icing on the cake with the tactical flashlight, being able to know what the battery voltage is very, very quickly so that you can preempt, charge battery, carry a few spares with you, that kind of thing. I did notice as well that they slightly modified the design of the tactical ring on the TA30C, and it's a little wider and the grooves are further apart. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it's either better or worse. I think it's pretty good design, similar to the other one, just has a slightly different feel, and I think it's easier as well to probably switch and hold on to just because it's a bit wider. But this is my favorite one out of the lot just because it combines everything. You've got the tactical functionality, you've got the extra brightness, 3000 lumens by the way, compared to around 2,100, 2,600, so 3,000 plus the extra throw distance from this LED. You've got the battery check. You've got it comes with the clip as well with the flashlight. You've got this tactical ring. You know, I think this is probably the best value one out of the three. That's my opinion. Probably good to mention as well, with all these Nextorch flashlights, you can't disassemble them. They are sealed, and Nextorch, I think, want to keep it that way so that we don't go inside and mess around with the electronics. And it has to do, a lot of manufacturers do this because of the warranty, because if you go in and mess around with the electronics and things and you try to claim the warranty, it's going to be a problem. So anyway, they're all sealed up. You get a 5-year warranty on all of these products, which is really good for peace of mind, because if it breaks, you know, or something happens, you know, you're definitely not left in the lurch. Nextorch is a pretty large company. They produce flashlights for law enforcement, for military, all over the world. These three all take 21700 cells, and I think that's a good option for high output flashlights like this, and also tactical flashlights where you want the extra runtime available. So what I find is that with the tactical versions, with this tactical switch here in the back, what do you call it, the rotating ring, they actually have a battery that charges separately. So you can pull out the battery and you plug a USB port into the battery. Let me just show you quickly what it looks like. So this one here, so you can, that's what I mean, basically little USB port, and the positive terminal faces up to the tail cap, whereas with the TA41 it's the complete opposite. So you actually have a charging port here and a little plug where you charge it in USB, and also you've got what am I trying to say again? Yeah, the battery. So it's like a normal battery, faces this way, positive terminal in, and there's no port on it because you can charge the battery from the flashlight itself. They're all pretty much around the same size. I mean, give or take a few millimeters here or there on the bezel, or even for the length. But as you can see, they're pretty similar in size. Probably the TA41 is a little smaller than the others, just due to the design of the tail cap. It doesn't stick out as much. But yeah, again, you get that extra functionality with those. LED wise, we compare them all. These have the XHP 50.2. You know, this one, as I mentioned before, XHP 50.3 high, so more, you know, additional throw, but still a predominantly floody kind of beam. The bezels, you know, all quite similar, except these have stainless steel bezels. You can see there's a little bit more reflectivity compared to this one here. Okay, the bezel is just a little more muted, has more of a tactical sort of low-key feel to it. I really like that upgrade, but these are really cool as well. They do the job, and you know, having some type of metal like stainless steel or titanium on the front just makes that light more durable, especially if you're using it to break windows, or I don't know, if you ever have to use it to break a window. Orange peel reflectors, and Nextorch use orange peel reflectors in a lot of their flashlights. I think it's a practical option. I love throwy flashlights, but at the end of the day, if I was to pick a flashlight, an all-rounder flashlight to take with me for a variety of purpose, I would pick a flashlight that has an orange peel reflector. I tend to carry a lot of throwers with me because I know I'm just using it for a bit of fun when I'm out, but I think orange peel reflectors are more practical to use, especially on a day-to-day basis. Just easier on the eyes and has a more floody beam. So the prices of these vary considerably as well. So the TA41 is $99, the TA30 is $125, and the TA30C is $119, surprisingly. Considering it has an upgraded LED, it's got this bezel. I really think this is a fantastic bargain. I went and had a look on the Nextorch website, but they look to be out of stock, but you can purchase them from other vendors, other suppliers as well. And I wonder if Nextorch are going to change the price of their TA30 now that the TA30C Max is out, and resemble the TA30 Max more, but adds additional throw and obviously this battery indicator feature on there as well. So for me, it's a no-brainer. I would get that one, the TA30C Max. But if you don't need this tactical ring functionality, you can save yourself $20-25 by getting this one here, the TA41. It still has the tactical switch here in the back, just doesn't have that rotating ring. So you're gonna, you know, if you want to get into the lower modes, you have to click first and then tap half press to get into those lower modes. So let's have a look here on the right hand side. We've got the Nextorch E51C and the Nextorch E52C. So they're actually quite different in size. That's because they use two different batteries. This one uses an 18650 cell, E51C. The E52C uses a 21700 cell. So they've recently just upgraded the battery size, and you know, even the whole flashlight, you can see the bezel, everything is larger. I think they made the right choice there, because In the E51C, it's actually a lot easier to carry with you, but it has an Osram P9 LED in there, so that produces 1,600 lumens. This one here, the new one, Nextorch E52C, produces 3,000 lumens. It's got an XHP 50.2 LED under the hood. So with an LED, of this size producing that much heat, you're going to need a larger body, and a larger capacity battery, in my opinion, would be better. So this is why I think Nextorch have ended up swapping that the form factor over, even though it's still within the same line. The E50, the C, whatever, E51, E52C series. So I think that stands for compact series. The cool thing about both these lights is that they both have these heads that you can unscrew, and you can actually access the charging port underneath. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? I've never seen this design before on any other flashlight, but I think the advantages of these, obviously you don't have to deal with the rubber gasket falling out if you bring it to areas where there's a lot of water. They're both rated, I think, to 2 meters underwater. You've got, the ability to just plug in that USB port, charge it directly, and screw the head back in. And I've unscrewed, screwed it back in, a whole variety of situations, and there's no dust. You can't see any dust under there. So there's some type of seal there which stops air from getting into the head, which I think is a really good design, because I don't want to get any dust underneath there. It really bugs me to just see dust on the reflector and on the lens. So build quality wise, they're both very similar, and it's just one is probably a little bit bigger. There's a slight difference in the lettering, and also what I found, the E51C, I like the design of the E51C's tail clip, because it actually goes underneath the cap and screws on, so there's no chance of it being pulled off or anything. And the great thing about these Nextorch clips is that they're made of high tensile steel. They're really difficult to pull off, so even something like that's fine. But the interesting thing is that this one here, you could use one of Nextorch's FR2 tactical rings, so this little ring there, and attach it onto the E52. So I think that's why they ended up not carrying on the E51C's design here, so that they could just basically add the, give you an option to add the ring on if you wanted to. And these are pretty cool, because the UI, this is how it basically works. As you turn the flashlight on, at first it goes onto turbo, and then you sort of click through, and I'm just half pressing the button, so turbo, medium, low, or high, medium, low. And then if you want to lock in a mode, just fully click the button like that. So pretty simple. If you want to access strobe, double click, and then you can actually click and lock it in, lock the strobe in like that. And it's exactly the same on the E52C. As you can see, both these have orange peel reflectors, AR, anti-reflective lens. If you want something that's just easier to carry around the pocket, the E51C probably be your better option. But the E52C, still quite easy to carry around your pocket. Reminds me a bit of some of these longer tactical flashlights that I own as well. So this one's quite good in terms of if you want that extra battery. Both of these will be great if you want to stick them in the glove box of your car, carry them around in your pocket, put one in the bag, that kind of thing. They all have battery indicators on them as well. This little light here at the front, it actually turns on and tells you what the battery capacity is on both the lights. I think they're great little EDC flashlights, and fantastic construction as well. Nice anodization, sleek sort of design. There's not really any cutouts on the bezel, just these little things here, and it's sort of like an anti-roll feature for the head. The clip also stops the light from rolling around. Beam profiles are pretty similar, but again, you're going to get in this one, 1,600 lumens, and double the output here, 3,000 lumens. But having tested them both, I actually find that this one ramps down significantly, and this actually becomes brighter after a while. So you do get extra lumens on this one, but yeah, if you start it on turbo, it's going to ramp down eventually. So it's just the nature of having a smaller host like that. Bit of a price difference between them both as well, and this is interesting because on the Nextorch website, the E52C is $79.99 and the E51C is $89.95. I almost categorize these into two different flashlights. This one's brighter, has larger capacity battery, but pretty much the features of the flashlight, everything else is exactly the same. You can chuck on a tactical ring there. This is a smaller version, and will probably last longer on the lower modes as well. So it really just depends on what type of form factor you're looking for. This one there is definitely more portable. You're not going to get as many lumens out of it, but it's able to actually hold the sustained output for longer, I found, than the E52C. P84 here is marketed by Nextorch as a duty flashlight, and it's a really interesting flashlight. I kind of categorize it in between these EDCs and the tactical flashlights here, because it has tactical light functionality. And I've never seen this before, but it's a momentary switch, so you can actually press that switch halfway here to access momentary mode, and full press to access high, low, and then back to turbo or high again. So you can actually use that almost as a tactical like function, but obviously you're holding it that way. Usually with tactical lights, the switch is right in the back. Something you don't see often. You get one step strobe as well, so you just press that button on the top to access strobe. Not only that, there are some other cool features in here, including this battery. So you can see the battery meter there. It tells you how much battery capacity is left. These are representative of 25% increments, and then you've got the ability to use these little flashy lights as well. So this here is like a little red and blue flashy light to attract attention. You click again and it flashes red. I can imagine using these things like if you're stuck on the side of the road, you just want to indicate to the cars behind you that you're there, so to reduce any danger. I think this is a really good thing, and just being able to signal, if you're lost or something, you can stick it up somewhere and draw attention. Also you can just activate the red LEDs if you don't want to disrupt your night vision. Use that at night. Blue as well, and then it just goes straight back to this flashy red and blue sort of setting. And this light is used by law enforcement as well. I think that's why it has this sort of feature in there. But I think for us as a general civilian, being able to just use this to attract attention when you need to is a really good feature. I mean, it's just not something I'm gonna use in public. Obviously, it's just gonna cause me some trouble. But something like this, I could see myself using. If you had this light in your glove box and you had an issue, car broke down or something like that, stick it on the back of your car. Maybe your car batteries run out and your indicators don't work. Something like this would just be a great little thing to have on you. And you can also activate both at the same time. So for example, I can go activate the low mode here on the P84, so the head of the flashlight's on. Then I can actually activate the flashy lights as well on all the other modes. So having them both on at the same time, maybe you can attract attention and use the flashlight at the same time. So pretty good, especially if maybe you're trying to signal above you or something like that, and you're using the torch on the ground, so you can actually see from above what's going on. So great, really great little feature. Here on the head of the flashlight, you can see it has this tactical bezel with 3 of these ceramic glass breaking beads, and it's made of stainless steel, good for durability. And underneath you have the orange peel reflector, XHP 50.3, P84 produces 3000 lumens, and it has a little surprise as well. You're probably wondering where the charging port is. It's got to unscrew the head. So you unscrew it and it stops at a certain point, and that's where you charge the light. So you just basically hidden away underneath there. Nice, efficient, and aesthetically pleasing design. I think it's also good for waterproofing, and that's why a lot of Nextorch flashlights are rated at 2 meters water resistance. These are a couple of different flashlights from Nextorch. This is the Nextorch Max Star. It's a headlamp, and you basically can just switch it on. It's got this rotating switch on it. I like that Nextorch have this idea of the rotating switch, and you see it a lot on these tactical flashlights that they have, but they've implemented a similar technology here where, when you use this at night, it's just so easy, especially if you've got some gloves on, or you're holding something. You don't want to be trying to fiddle around, press with little buttons and that kind of thing. Nextorch stick with very simple, pragmatic designs. So you can just put your mitt on there and just switch and be able to change the modes very, very easily. You can sort of flip the light up and down, point it at where you want it. It's an Osram P9 LED, so produces 1200 lumens. Also, you can detach it and use it as a makeshift flashlight as well if you don't have anything else on you. Here is the charging port. So it's a USB-C charging port, and you have an 18650 cell as well included with the flashlight. There's not any way, I believe, to replace it easily. You'll have to get the screws out from there and dismantle it. It's probably easier than I think. I've not tried to open it up. If you want to swap over this battery, you're going to need to undo these screws, these 3 screws, and take it apart, and then you can pop in a new 18650 cell in there. I like the design of the headband as well. There's nothing kind of going around the top. It's this, I think it's called like a Y-shaped design, so it kind of grips on at the back of your head, and yeah, it's just more of a one-band style. This is the last one, and here, this is the Nextorch K40. It's the smallest one of the lot, and this is a little keychain light that packs a decent punch. So you get 300 lumens flashlight, okay? And, you know, you've got 2 buttons here. The bottom button, amazingly, has a 1-step strobe at 700 lumens. This thing is bright. Ridiculously bright for its size, and I think if you're looking for a keychain that has some of these little additional features on it, because most keychain lights just have a little button and then you press it and then it, you know, you just have a bit of light come out. But this one here, you know, have 3 different modes. You can switch high, medium, low, turn off. You've got the strobe. Not only that, you can press and hold that bottom button, and you've got ultraviolet light, UV light. Click again. You've got red light if you just want to use red light, don't want to disturb your night vision. And then you've got a little alert mode as well, emergency alert beacon mode. So fantastic. Kind of reminds me a bit of like a small version of this P84. They've used similar design characteristics in the UI, okay, except for this UV light. You know, might be useful for you if you're checking identification, checking notes, banknotes and stuff like that. It's part of your job. If you're a security team or something. Here, it comes with this little metallic clip on the back there. The body is made out of polycarbonate, but you've got an aluminium, bezel on the front. So actually, when you use this light for a little while, you feel it get warm on the top, which is good. So this is some heat dissipation. Here on the back, you've got just a little keychain that attaches onto the end. So I think in terms of keychain lights, I've not seen one that has all these little features, especially with the UV and these signaling lights as well. So there are some kind of survival features, and with the strobe, this little self-defense feature, just being able to activate that strobe so quickly at a moment's notice where you need to in a self-defense situation. I think this is a great little option to have on you. So that's pretty much it. I've talked a little bit about all these lights. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you. If you like the video, make sure you click the like button. It helps me to get my videos out to more people on YouTube. And if you want to see me make more videos, more quality content, make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching. Up first, I've got the Nextorch TA41 tactical flashlight with the XHP 50.2. TA41, pretty bright, floody beam. TA30 Max. Next up, I've got the Nextorch TA30 C Max. A little bit throwier. Nextorch E52C, more of a floody beam, not much of a hot spot at all, just a light one in the center, a slightly more concentrated hot spot in the middle, but you can barely tell. like a wall of light. Quite a useful beam. Pleasant to look at. Nextorch P84. And that's the turbo, the P84. Also another fairly floody beam, uses that same XHP 50.2. They tend to produce similar beam profiles unless you've got a large reflector, causes it to have increased throw, but normally speaking more of a floody sort of emitter, but with a, you know, decent hot spot in the center, as you can see. Nextorch E51C. Again, quite a floody light. This has got the P9, Osram P9. I find this one can really hold its brightness for a significant period of time. Probably because the emitter just doesn't produce that much heat. Quite efficient. Alright, so coming down to the final top three, we've got some LEP flashlights, and here I've got the Nextorch L10 Max, and you can see they're really fine and bright beams, like a lightsaber. The beam is actually as visible as it appears on camera to the naked eye. I can see it just piercing through the night sky, even with a bit of ambient light, and it's not too dark these days for some reason, the sky. Try a bit closer here. Nextorch T10L, this is the tactical version. It's like you're starting to rain. Pretty similar to the L10 Max. Though I do find the beam is a little larger, the hotspot's a bit larger. Can also flick between low, medium and high here. It's a strobe mode too. And lucky last, Nextorch T20L. This is the most intense. Look at that, incredible. Incredible hotspot. Really large hotspot and just bright as anything.